Let's go, girls.
It's Women Talking Football.
Women Talking Football.
Not to be confused with
WFT.
ever. Don't confuse it with WFT. Don't do it.
Let's go. It's Women Talking Football. WTF, not to be confused with WFT. We are a trio of producers here for Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Dave Campbell's Texan Live. My name's Ashley Pickle. I'm the executive producer. Sitting to my right, looking on screen at your left, is Miss Mallory Hartley, our associate coordinating producer of recruiting.
Almost. Coordinating producer of recruiting.
Yeah, that's what I said on the second time.
Yeah, the second time. Yeah, close enough. I'll take it.
We got there, didn't we?
We sure did. It took a while, but we got there.
I haven't even been here to see the new intro in person because for some reason, Carter Yates.
Did you like that intro?
I leave for 2 seconds. No, I didn't like it. I leave for 2 seconds and this man's like, I got it.
You can blame Sam for that. He's the one that made it.
Man.
You can blame me for having Carter on the show.
Well, I was going to go off about men, but then you included yourself in there, so you ruined that. My fun there. Sitting there in the control room, turning the dials, making us sound good, it is our associate producer, Miss Vianney Moreno.
What's going on, guys? Too excited to get on. Sorry. Hi, guys. Hello.
She's been busy recently.
Yeah.
Going out with me and Sam to do some interviews and stuff.
Yeah, we're
She's
kind
been
of stepping up production here around Dave Campbell's Texas Football, something we're super, super excited about. A lot more to come on that. But V&A taking the reins of a lot of that. Something I guess that we can announce that I don't know if it's been announced on air before, but Sam Moore, the producer of Rising. Officially full-time as our production assistant here at Dave Campbell's. So we're adding on to the production team. We're super excited about what's to come and a lot more of that.
Is it crazy to think that when you were hired almost 5 years ago at this point that you were the only production person that we had on this team?
Yeah.
Full-time production person on this team?
This was 100% a magazine company that had a website and one show.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking back, I could go on about that for a long time, but looking back in the 5 years that I've been here, going from the singular person that knew anything about video to having a whole production team and a streaming company, pretty stinking cool.
Cool.
So excited to keep bringing y'all all the fun stuff, including episode 84 of Women Talking Football. So today what we're going to do is we're going to act as a Texas high school football in case you missed it show. We have a ton of content coming out all the time.
So much content.
All the time. On TexasFootball.com, we have a ton of live shows going on. We have hundreds, thousands of events being streamed on TexanLive.com, including playoff softball and baseball happening tonight and the rest of the weekend. Don't want to miss that. But it's a lot to digest, and we recognize that. And realistically, it's the off season.
Nah, there's no off season. There's no off season.
Off season. So with that being said, we wanted to say, hey, if you need a place to just tune in for a minute and say, I want the highlights and nothing else of what's happening around Texas high school football, Women Talking Football is here for you. We will go through some of the stories that we have on TexasFootball.com, some of the big news that has been happening around the Texas high school football community, including some crazy coaching changes that we will have our very own Texas high school football insider, Matt Stepp, on the program today to talk about that. He is quite excited.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
We tried so hard to ban this man from ever coming on WTF, just as a bit. We like Matthew, but just as a bit. And today we had to fold because the Gunner coaching news is too big.
Well, and I'm the one to blame for that a little bit because I opened the floodgates by letting Carter on.
You let one on, and then they just spawn everywhere.
Because I asked him how he felt about Stepp being on, and we're also going to have Gavin Moritz on. We're going to talk some recruiting news, and we're going to have our Atascocita correspondent on to talk about Carter Mack. But I asked Carter how he felt, and he goes, I just feel like I opened the door, you know, for Stepp and Gavin and other men to come on Women Talking Football. And I just looked at him and I shook my head.
Again, I like Gavin.
The other two, not so much.
I'll leave it at that. And then we'll round it all out, like Mallory said, with some recruiting news and notes across the state, just to get everybody back into the feel of what's been happening throughout the month of April.
A lot of stuff.
It's
Especially recruiting. I mean, this is the time of year where kids are going on unofficial visits. They're scheduling official visits. Some are committing. It's a lot to keep up with. And lots of coaching changes, too.
So we're keeping up with it for you. Let's get right on into it. We will be bringing in Matt Stepp very shortly to talk about the shocking news out of Gunner, Texas, as Jake Fizzell has resigned from his post as head coach. More on that to come up soon. Before we get there, though, we wanted to highlight an incredible story. It is called Women Talking Football. That's the name of the program. But we wanted to highlight an article written by our very own Carter Yates. Carter's story, and I'm not going to give too much of it away because I want you to go to texasfootball.com and read the article. But Carter's story, it tells the story of Lexi Brooks. She became the first DFO in Central Texas. He highlights multiple other DFOs. So that's Director of Football Operations. In his story, he highlights Callie Cam, who is now in the college ranks, Sapphire Cervantes, who is now moving over to Mesquite, Sierra Bernard, who's in Bay City. And obviously there are so many women in both high school and college making an impact, not only in the Director of Football realm, in recruiting realms, in media, in all of that. We're just focusing on the women that Carter put on his story today to highlight a couple of those. But I thought this quote from Lexi Brooks was really cool. There are so many other coaches' daughters and other girls out there who love the game, but what avenue is there for them? That's kind of a peek into what the story is about.
Well, and another portion of this article that I thought was super interesting was what DFOs actually do. Now, I think that depends on which school you're at, what your title kind of entails, but especially for Lexi Brooks, this is what her role as a DFO kind of entailed. It said tracking team academic performance and behavior, sending prospect sheets for college recruitment, and controlling all game day logistics from pregame meals to sideline passes. And of course, it kind of varies between person, but it looks like Sapphire's role. It said she will organize fundraising and team events, managing Mesquite's recruiting website and updating huddles and player bios and running the team's social media, basically allowing coaches to do their job, right? Taking that off their plate. Because another portion I thought was really interesting was in order to hire a DFO, you must sacrifice an assistant coaching spot. Yeah. Which is huge. So one, congrats to Sapphire for getting this role. I think that says a lot about her and her work ethic. But I mean, you're taking another coach's spot, but it's also taking stuff off their plate as well. So these coaches can just focus on coaching, and you have a whole separate role to do the recruiting stuff and the outside noise stuff.
Yeah, and I think something else to kind of put down into a fundamental basis for anybody who doesn't know, a DFO, a Director of Football Operations job, has been around for a long time in college football. As we know, coaches, programs, it kind of mirrors each other. The trickle-down effect starts to happen, specifically from an NFL moment to a NCAA moment, and then down into the high school realm. And the thing about it is, in college, it's been around for a long time. There have been some women that have had it. There have been a ton of men that have had this position. And it's not the fact that a man in high school couldn't go and have this position. That's not what we're saying. We're just highlighting that if there is a way for women to start really getting into more of a coaching staff role, a DFO position seems to be right now the trend of how women are able to get in there. And the one line, and again, I don't want to give away everything in the story. It's a great story. Go read it on texasfootball.com. But the one line that I really like, that I feel like would make it relatable to literally any person that has ever had a job, was in the article. Carter wrote, in those moments when she confronted what her biggest fear was in taking the job, she refocused on her why. And I just think that's cool. It's something that is so relatable to so many people, and not even in jobs, just in normal day life. But I think it is exponentially highlighted in these roles where women are getting into a male-dominated industry.
Right.
And there is fear. I have gone through it. The two of you have gone through it. It's different. You know, I was the first woman ever hired at Dave Campbell's full time
Right.
on the editorial staff in a 60-year history. You think that's not a little bit nerve-wracking?
Right.
I like to act like it wasn't, but it was.
It was.
And it still
to be
is
completely
at
transparent.
times.
Right. I mean, I can kind of relate to in the recruiting space when you're going to these camps and stuff. You don't see many women actually covering the prospects and stuff like that. So I completely understand where you're coming from and where Lexi's coming from. It's an intimidating, it's flattering. It really is, but it also can be intimidating at times.
And I think that reflecting on the why is such a key part to any of this. So I think that's what I took the most out of the article, other than Carter's excellent way of highlighting some people who are making very big impact on not only their specific community, not only their specific team, but just the industry as a whole. And I think that's really, really cool. But I think that anyone, it doesn't matter, male, female, what industry you work in, focusing on your reason why is just such a refreshing editorial part of this story.
Right.
That was like, oh yeah, man, you want to talk about a heartwarming, feel good, and a way for anybody who's been on that path, or anybody like some of these, like Lexi, who is starting her first year on this path, realize the difference that you're making.
Right.
Your why is the exact same thing that's going to pave the path for so many other women in this industry, for anybody. Focus on that why and center back there. And that's just such a cool life thing that you can take out of Carter's. I was just absolutely upset that he was on the show, and now I'm sitting here singing his praises. But his editorial, the eloquence that he has to tell the stories like that and to center it around life that everybody can relate to is just, it's really cool.
Well, and you take it back a little bit further than that, and you know, we all have different jobs. There's a lot of women in recruiting, Texas high school football, coaches out there. And we all may have different jobs, but you take it back and you look at it and say, hey, we're all in this because we also love the game of football. And we can all kind of relate to
100%.
that, you know? I mean, we all grew up around football. Dads were coaches, you know, friends were coaches. Just take it back and you just got to realize we're all the same. We all love the game of football. And that's why we're all working.
That's what it boils down to.
And that's what it boils down to. Exactly.
So really, really cool. Please go read Carter's story on texasfootball.com. The rise of directors of football operations in Texas high school football. All right, as we bring you back in to our Texas high school football, in case you missed it here on a WTF, is where we're giving you the top highlights of what's happened in the month of April. We are about to get our Texas high school football insider, Matthew Stepp, on the phone, making his WTF debut. It was too good to not to, unfortunately.
He's watching this and just chuckling to himself, right?
Yes. Unfortunately, I am aware. Before we get to Matthew, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
Many athletes want to gain weight, or specifically build lean muscle mass to help improve performance. To do this, you must be committed to consuming more calories than needed to maintain your body weight. That means more carbohydrates, more protein, and more healthy fat. This can be challenging for some people, but it's required to put your body in an anabolic or building state. The key, consistency. This is a commitment that must be followed through 7 days a week to see the muscle mass gains you want. So how do you do it? Here are 5 tips to help. First, eat often. The goal is to eat a meal or snack every couple of hours, starting with breakfast. A high-calorie breakfast containing carbohydrates, high-quality protein, and healthy fats is essential to kick the body out of catabolism or breakdown mode and put it into anabolic or building mode. Second, swap your snacks. Leave the goldfish and crackers behind and fuel your body with nutrient-dense snacks like Energy Bites and Trail Mix. These snacks have more calories per bite, making them ideal for weight gain. Third, add more healthy fats to your eating routine. Foods like nuts, nut butters, trail mix, seeds, and avocado can help add calories to meals and snacks. Fourth, make high-calorie food exchanges. That means get more calories into what you are already eating. For example, eat a bagel instead of bread, granola instead of a sugar-sweetened cereal, and trail mix instead of popcorn. Finally, fuel your body with nutrient-rich beverages like milk, chocolate milk, and smoothies. They can help provide the calories and high-quality protein you need to build muscle. If you have a hard time remembering to eat, set reminders on your calendar until it becomes a habit. Remember, consistency is key when it comes to building muscle. And as an athlete, that means you have to fuel up day in and day out.
Welcome back into Women Talking Football. Ashley Pickle, Mallory Hartley, and Vianney Moreno here to kind of hit a reset and see what all crazy news has come out in Texas high school football over the past month. And unfortunately, we tried to keep him off of this program for as long as we possibly could. But this is just too big. First and foremost, before we get into the massive news, hello, Matthew Stepp, our Texas high school football insider.
Hello, Ashley and Mallory. Can I just say that this is a milestone moment in my career as a journalist, to be a guest on WTF. And I just want to start the hashtag, thank you, Carter, for being such a
Okay, cut him off.
All right.
Hang up, immediately done. I can handle this myself. No, we really can't, because we have to go to the source. So obviously, massive step bomb came out earlier this week that Gunner head coach, a 5-time state champion, the most recent three-peat from 2022 to 2024, Jake Fizzell is stepping down and resigning from Gunner due to some personal reasons. First and foremost, when you heard this news, obviously you and some local journalists being the first people to break it here, were you equally as shocked as I think everybody across the state was?
Yeah, so this kind of went down about a week before the news broke. I got a call from another coach who kind of had mentioned some rumblings, and I didn't believe it, honestly. I was like, there's no way. This is just some bad rumor that's going around. Well, then later that afternoon, I got a call from another coach who basically said, yeah, it's accurate. And so at that point, we went into really kind of preparing mode. We kind of knew it was imminent, but we were just kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, so to speak. So was definitely caught off guard by it. On a personal note, I hope Coach Fizzell, things work out for him personally. He's an unbelievable football coach, and the resume that he built up at Gunter is second to none. And so I'm confident he will be back wearing the headsets again very soon and can move on with his career, and he's an unbelievable football coach, and what he did at Gunner is unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely everything he's done on the field speaks for itself. I think all of us are under the assumption that he'll land back on his feet regardless of where he goes. I do want to talk about the Gunner program, though. Obviously an incredibly high-profile job there for any coach across the state. When you start to take a look at, okay, what's Gunner's next step? How are you feeling there?
Well, I mean, you look at Gunner and their history past, Fizzell's been there for 18 years, so they haven't had a coaching change in a long time. But generally, I think Fizzell, when he got hired, was an internal promotion. So you look at the timing of this move, we're talking late April, early May. It's going to be May before a coach is hired. The timing of it, along with the success that Gunner's had, and you've got to think an internal promotion is the way to go here. Why mess it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Gunner's football program is not broken by any means. I think they've got a couple of really qualified guys on staff. I think the key is going to be the staff needs to get behind one guy. They need to determine, hey, who's the guy that we're going to put all of our weight behind, and we're going to support this guy to be the next head coach. Because if they don't, that would open up the door for external candidates, and there's some external candidates that I think would be good fits if that happens. Some guys who coached in Gunner in the past, that kind of thing. But I can guarantee you, if the Gunner job actually does post, it is going to get interest from across the country from qualified coaches, as people know the history and the legacy that Gunner's built up, and it's a great job. So it'll be very interesting. My advice for anybody internally at Gunner would be to really throw your weight behind one guy and push for that one guy to get the job. And I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I bet the community would agree too. Right before we let you go, Step, I want to ask you for, one more just question, because I'm you know what, I'm going to call you old. You've been doing this for a while,
I am old.
but this offseason in particular, take the Gunner thing out of it. Obviously, just an odd scenario that we weren't expecting, but there were a couple more of these for totally different reasons, I think. But you start looking at this offseason as a whole with the coaching changes that we've seen, and we're going to talk a little bit about it more, but you had programs like Mason and Brownwood who had longtime coaches that had a lot of really, really good football that they had overseen in their time, and then all of a sudden it was like the community kind of got a little frustrated and they were out. And I think a lot of these took us by surprise. In all of your time doing this, have you seen an off season that has been this shocking with some of the massive coaching changes that we've seen thus far?
It's, from a sheer number standpoint, it's not the busiest, but especially late movement like we've had has been really surprising. It's been a little bit busier year for a non-realignment year than usual. It's definitely up there, and I think Mason and Brownwood are two cases of hometown guys who kind of got raw deals, at their alma maters. Sometimes, a lot of coaches, their dream is to go back home and coach where they're from, and that's great until it goes south. And when it goes south, it gets really ugly, and I think that's what's kind of happened in Brownwood and Mason. It's up there. I would say there's only other year that I can really think of, the year that Tom Westerberg, he left Allen after doing what he did to go to Barbers Hill, was, I think, a really shock for everybody, and that was a really, really busy off season. So there's been some other years that have been super busy, but the late movement, I mean, we haven't talked about it, but Wimberley just came open a couple of days ago, and that's a fantastic job as well. And then, you had Woodville, who played in a state championship, who played Gunter in a state championship game. That job opened up, and they just made a hire yesterday, actually, hiring Keith Clausen from Eldon. So it's been a lot of late movement this year, which is which is good for us, because it keeps, we got a lot of news going on. Sometimes things slow down around May, but it's rocking and rolling still, and it's going to keep us busy all the way into magazine publishing time.
Well, we almost made it like 3 years of this show without having to have him on, but unfortunately this one was just too big. Matthew, it pains me to say it, but we appreciate you hopping on WTF. Thank you for your insight, and keep busy there so we don't have to have you on again.
Thanks, Step.
Yay.
Thanks,
Bye,
ladies.
Steph.
And thank you, Carter. Thanks, Carter.
Okay, hang up on him.
Bye, Steph.
Hashtag thank you, Carter.
No, we love Step. Obviously, no one more dialed into Texas high school football than Matthew Step. And this was just one of those times that when a 5-time championship winning head coach, the most recent person to do a three-peat, which is, we've talked about it time and time again on this show, darn near impossible to do for state championships in Texas high school football. This was such a shocking one. We needed the man that broke it to go ahead and come on here.
And I liked what he said about how not only is this kind of like an in-state job, but this is probably going to get national eyes because of how high caliber Fizzell was to that program, and just the pedigree that this program has statewide. I mean, that'd be kind of cool to see this job kind of get national eyes, and maybe some candidates that are from out of state.
Absolutely. And I feel like, and it's funny because you would think about it of like, oh, why would a national person care about a 3A Division II job? But that just shows you how hard it is to get into Texas high school football as a person that's not been here. I mean, because yes, it's one thing to say Allen is a national job. How often do they go and hire someone who hasn't been around Texas high school football at premier 6A and 5A? Very, very, very rarely. But 3A Division II is one of those that it's like, oh, okay, I might be able to get in there and then continue to work my way up. If it was me, I would say, no, I'm going to go live in Gunner and wreck shop for years to come and be happy that I finally made it to Texas high school football. So very, very interested. I agree with Step. I think promoting internally, they have an incredible staff, one of whom has been there. All of those assistant guys they were very loyal to Fizzell, and they have been there for a long time. So they know the program left and right. That was not a high churn job, which I think is what makes it so coveted.
Right. I think so too.
All right, just a couple of more here of major coaching changes. Obviously, we hit on a couple of those with Step, but We talked a lot about Mason with Michael McLeod coming open, and then a lot about Sammy Burnett leaving Brownwood. Both of those were made by Board of Trustees and school board decisions to go ahead and part way with ones that I don't know if we necessarily agreed with, but it was the community decision, and alas, that's where we ended up. Mason is still currently open. Brownwood has hired Coach Brixley, so he was the offensive coordinator at Katy High School. Obviously, very well known for winning. He has been on the staff at Katy from 2012 as the OC, was a part of those state titles for Katy in 12, 15, and 20. He does have some head coaching experience from 2007 to 2011 at Comanche. Also spent some time in the college ranks, but most recently, being the offensive coordinator for Gary Joseph means high praise coming from the Brownwood staff that's looking to kind of relive those Gordon Wood glory days. Another one that Stepp had mentioned, Wimberley, now open. This one completely different.
Yeah.
Doug Warren, after 36 years as a head coach, has announced his retirement. And let me tell you, I personally love Doug Warren. Mm-hmm. Great guy. He spent the last 12 years at Wimberley. He went 119-47 there. They were a title contender in 19 and 22. Just such an incredible career, such a really, really good coach, and his level of consistency was just outstanding. He did say that maybe he's going to jump on some Texan Live broadcast now if I'll let him. So
oh, heck yeah. I'm so down for that.
Would love that. And then finally, this one goes a little bit under the radar in Fort Stockton. So this one's a lot more normal from the jump. So Fort Stockton, a 4A Division II program, was coached by an alum, Jeremy Hickman, who did a really, really good job. He went, oh gosh, I had it here and now I don't. He did a really good job while he was there over 3 seasons, and now he's going to take over the head coaching job at 6A Cy Woods. Normal.
Yeah.
Guy comes back to his alma mater, gets a head coaching job, does super good, goes to a bigger program. Completely different from most of these other stories we've heard. Here's where it gets weird.
Of course, because why wouldn't it?
We're sitting there, and all of a sudden, we get the press release that Fort Stockton has announced their new head coach. And Tepper was the one that goes, "Wait a minute, are there 2 DJ Howells?" Well, that's because DJ Howell came from Sterling City. Now an 11-man squad, but just transitioned from 6-man.
Yep.
So DJ Howell is most well known for his time spent in 6-man. He was the head coach at Miami, who really turned that program around, led him to a 12-win regional finals season. And then he obviously helped Fort Stockton get up to 2A and kind of lead that first 11-man charge. So he has 11-man experience, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, coach, how do you feel about coming to coach 4A Division II? So an outstanding coach, definitely knows what he's doing, but just a headline that you went, the 6-man guy?
Yeah.
So some of the more wild, I guess you could say, coaching stuff. But obviously with Mason, Wimberley, and Gunner, all of those still open right now. Make sure to keep eyes on TexasFootball.com because Matt Stepp is going to be all over those when we find out who those 3 really coveted programs are going to be hiring.
Dude, Texas high school football is so weird because you've got coaches coming from the 6-man ranks up to 11-man, vice versa, 11-man down to 6-man, and then you've got coaches from colleges coming down to play, coming down to coach, big time Texas high school football programs. It really just goes to show you the impact that Texas high school football has on the entire nation.
Yeah, it is awesome. All right, there you go. Some notable coaching changes for our Texas high school football in case you missed it. Switching now to you, madam, for some recruiting news that we might have missed.
Man, I've been swimming in the recruiting news this past off season. I mean, man, there's so much, but we're just going to hit on a couple of the more notable commitments that's happened in the past week because we've covered a lot of them on Rising already. And, throughout our YouTube page, you can see us releasing top 6s of other prospects and stuff like that. I'm just going to mention some of the more notable news that has happened in the past week. And to start off strong here, we're going to bring somebody on to help us with this news. We're bringing on another male from our staff.
If he says, "Thank you, Carter," I'm out. I'm done.
And here to join us to talk about Carday Mac, we've got our chief Atascocita correspondent, Mr. Gavin Moritz, on the line. Gavin, do you read us?
Hey, how's it going, ladies?
Going pretty well. Thank you so much for joining Women Talking Football. I'm so glad you're on here today, and I think this is your second
photo.
I think this is your second time on WTF, isn't it?
This is awesome.
No, this is my first, and thank
wow.
you guys for having me on.
We had
welcome.
Trevor on.
No, it was Trevor
She
to
got
talk
you
about
confused
the
with Trevor
No,
Bullard.
I didn't. I'm sorry. Okay, we're just gonna continue on here. Gavin, I wanted to talk to you specifically because we had some big news, recruiting news come out of the Houston area this past week. Umbla Atascocita, 2026 athlete. I'm going to call him an athlete because he's being recruited as a running back, but he also plays quarterback at Atascocita. Carday Mack commits to Arizona State, and first of all, I love this commitment. I think he is going to be a really good fit for Arizona State. I'll let you tell them why here in a second. But he is one of the most dynamic players in the state, in my opinion. Threw for over 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns, only throwing 3 interceptions on the season last year. Ran for over 1,900 yards and 22 touchdowns. Also he caught 4 touchdown passes as well to the mix there. But Gavin, I wanted to ask you first, what type of player is Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham's squad getting in Carday Mack?
Well, I think when you look at Atascocita's Carday Mack, I mean, we've got him listed at DCTF as 5'9", 170, but I think he plays much bigger than that. He's a broken tackle machine who has the ability, I think, to run through almost any defender that I've seen at the high school level. But he also possesses the speed and the quickness to break off, those long runs that we see weekly in the Craig Stump and the Joshua Stump offense there for the Eagles.
And you and I were talking a little bit before you came on here, and you were kind of saying, I think Atascocita's scheme kind of changed when Carday Mack broke out. Talk a little bit about that and how he's kind of taken this offense as his own and ran with it.
Well, I've been around Atascocita a good while now. I'm starting to feel pretty old, but when you look at Atascocita's scheme, traditionally in the last decade and a half or so, they've been a spread team, right? Even when they had Patrick Taylor, who's playing in the NFL now at running back, they threw the ball a lot. But since Carday burst onto the scene in 2023, everyone remembers that Week 2 game against 4 touchdowns. You've seen them still throw the ball, of course, but their identity in Joshua Stump's offense in that time frame has been pounding the rock a little bit more, and Carday is the focal point of that. Even when he's playing the quarterback spot, they run the zone reads, the RPO style plays, the quarterback draws that, to me, allow Carday to do what he does best.
And when you take a look at the high production and versatility that Carday Mack brought to this Atascocita offense, how will that translate to Arizona State? Like, how will he be a good fit for the Sun Devils?
Well, I think when you look at Carday, I think obviously a name that rings a bell with the scheme that he kind of fits into with Kenny Dillingham's offense there at Arizona State is Cam Scatabo, right? Mm-hmm. We saw Cam Scatabo, the last year, especially into the college football playoff. He was a very versatile guy, threw the ball a little bit when they needed him to, kind of out of the wildcat, kind of a halfback pass sort of deal. Could run the ball obviously extremely well. He just got drafted by the New York Giants, which pains me a little bit as a Cowboys fan. But he also was very productive in the passing game and pass protection, which I think Carday does all of that really, really well. And that's not to say that Carday is the exact same player as Cam Scatabo, but they have a similar frame, and I think they have a similar skill set.
And then finally, this one is more for the Sun Devil fans that will watch this later. What kind of a player are the Sun Devil fans getting in Carday Mack off the field? Because I know you know him personally, so I want you to talk a little bit about his character and who he is off the football field.
Well, I've interviewed Carday a couple times now, and off the field, he's genuinely, I mean this with all sincerity, one of the nicest guys I've come across at the high school level. He's very respectful, answers every question always. He stays after the games and practices to talk to everyone, and I think he's a great guy who Kenny Dillingham, and I think the Sun Devil fans are going to love from day one.
And then finally, because we are Texas high school football centric here, what can we expect from Atascocita heading into this season?
Well, I think we always talk about Atascocita set up to make at least a run to the regional final every year. I think that's true again this year. I don't know, obviously, for certain in late April that it'll be against North Shore. I don't like to look that far ahead, but I think it's safe to pencil in the Craig Stump and Willie Gaston coaching matchup to play twice a year at this point. Mm-hmm. And it's always last year's district game was a ton of fun. I actually get to call that one. And I was at the regional final as well when they played. And I'll say this, if Atascocita can get past the North Shore hump in Region 3,
Yep.
I think Coach Schnupp Eagles can make a run to Arlington and play for a state title, which they've never done in the program's history.
That's kind of like the chip on their shoulder, right? Every single year, they're like, okay, that's kind of the, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like
It's the bridge that they haven't been
bridge
able to
that they have
cross.
been able to cross. That's exactly what I was thinking. But I think they'll be just fine either way. Gavin, thank you so much for hopping on. He's our chief Atascocita correspondent and Carde Mac correspondent down in the Houston area. Appreciate it, and I hope you had some fun.
Hey, I had a blast. Thank you guys, and hashtag thank you, Carter.
All right, cut him off. You ruined it. Thanks, Gavin. Appreciate you hopping on and
Thank you
talking
all.
about Carde Mac.
Bye,
there.
Gavin.
I don't know if I should blame Carter at this point or
Yeah,
if
you
I
can
should blame the
blame-
two of you, because I leave for a month and now it's just an infestation of DCTF men on this program.
But we've got some good insight from them today.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. Anyways, Carde Mac commits to Arizona State. And what I really think is interesting about Arizona State's recruiting right now is that they're going after Texas guys like nuts. I mean, you take a look at the 2026 class, they get the number 2 quarterback out of the class of 2026, Jake Fetty, out of El Paso del Valle. He's one of the most prolific passers in the state. Julian Hugo out of Cibolo Steel. And then you take a look back at the 2025 class and you get Grayson Rigdon out of Columbus. So just their ability to recruit in the state of Texas in recent years has been phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's every now and then I feel like in recruiting, which I am not an expert in by any stretch, but for looking at it from a college perspective, there is typically a program that will hire a guy that has been around Texas long enough so that way they feel like they can try and get in on it, and then they start having success because, shocker, Texas high school football athletes are really stinking good at football.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, they're in your backyard every single time. Like they've got to have someone that just lives down here, you
Right.
know, and is just recruiting Texas.
Right.
So Arizona State is definitely that program of note in my mind right now that is locked in on Texas high school football.
Right. Well, and hitting up that El Paso region too is like genius.
Oh, Jake Fetty's
gold.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Moving on here, another notable commit that I wanted to hit on that happened this past week is 4-star 2026 safety Markel Ford commits to SMU. And if you didn't know, he played at Mesquite Horn this past season. Dallas Morning News recently put out a statement saying that he was going to be attending DeSoto next year. Now, we have not received confirmation about that yet, so I'm just going to refer to him as Mesquite Horns Markel Ford because that's where he plays last season. But I believe he is going to be attending DeSoto for his senior season. But Markel Ford, one of the most dynamic safeties in the state of Texas. We have him as the 5th safety in the class of 2026 in the state of Texas. 6 foot 185, so amazing size for a safety. He recently decommitted from Texas A&M, and as a junior at Mesquite Horn, he recorded 45 tackles, 1 interception, and 3 pass deflections to earn first team 11-6A all district honors. And he held over 35 scholarship offers, decommitted from Texas A&M, and is now going to be playing right down the street, literally in his own backyard for Rhett Lashley and company at SMU.
And he is the ideal recruit that SMU and Rhett Lashley should be going for. He is a hometown kid that you can hometown kid, regardless if it's Mesquite Horn or DeSoto, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
When you have elite level talent that's getting that national attention, that has 35 different offers, to be able to go in and solidify a deal as of now with a player like that going, hey, we're keeping you home. Mom and dad at every game, you know, family at every game. You're right here. That is the ideal person that they should be trying to bring in at SMU. That's the highlight of being in Dallas.
Yeah, you see a lot of Forney kids getting SMU offers. You see a lot of kids from Richardson, the Richardson area, you know, Lake Highlands area.
Sealing the DFW border is what they need to do if they want to be the team of Dallas.
Well, and, you know, making the college football playoff last year absolutely boosts that just a little bit.
Say that probably helps a little bit.
Correct. But what I really liked about, Powers and I have talked about Ford a little bit on our YouTube channel because we listed the top 5 safeties in the class of 2026, and he described him kind of as a field general, and I really like that because from literally the moment that he stepped onto the field as a sophomore at Mesquite Horn, he kind of just took control of the offense, becoming that field general. He actually knocked himself out at a game last season because of the toughness, how tough that this kid plays.
That seems like something you would do if you were a football player.
Oh, dude, I so would. I'm so competitive. I so would not.
Why knock the other person out when you can knock yourself out,
Yeah, I mean, why not? That's how tough he plays.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy.
That's me. You're getting you're getting a tough dude in Markel Ford there. These next couple of players, we had 3 more prospects in the state of Texas commit to their college of their choice. And we'll just go ahead and list them off here. I put them all in a graphic. And starting off, we'll talk about Lancaster 2026 cornerback Victor Lincoln. He committed to Oklahoma State this past week. 6'1", 165. He's got really, really good size. And he committed to Oklahoma State over programs like Arkansas, Kansas State, Baylor, and Vanderbilt. You'll like this next one, being a Go Cougs fan. Colleen Shoemaker, 2026 offensive tackle. Troy Pless committed to Houston this past week.
Pumped about that.
6'5", 295, massive size at the tackle position. And he chose the Houston Cougars over programs like Arkansas, Baylor, North Texas, and a couple more of those offers. And finally, to round out the Texas high school football commits this past week, it's Ridge Point 2026 wide receiver Robert Haynes commits to Arkansas. And he's listed at 6'1", 175 pounds. And he chose the Razorbacks over programs like Louisiana, Monroe, Louisville, however you want to say it, Pitt. He's got a lot of offers, but big pickup there by Arkansas. So a lot of noise in the Texas high school football recruiting community this past week. Excited for all of these prospects to shine at the next level. We'll continue to cover you there.
That's why I laugh when people ask, when they hear that you work at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, have y'all gotten like, oh, well, what do y'all do when it's not football season?
Cover recruiting.
And I was like, do you realize that this is a year-round thing? Because coaching changes don't stop.
Recruiting never
doesn't
sleeps.
Stop.
No.
We put out this little thing called a magazine during the thing. We've got all the other sports, but it's always funny when it's like, oh yeah, it's April. There's nothing to talk about. And then it's like, you just throw up information.
Right. Because official visits happen in April and May and June. Oh, but wait, unofficials happen in like January, February, March. It's like it never sleeps. And then everybody wants to commit before their senior season. So that happens in the summer. It really never sleeps.
It doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't.
Speaking of not stopping, something that y'all shouldn't stop doing is becoming texasfootball.com/subscribers.
Yeah, correct. Good plug. That was awesome.
And the reason being is if you become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber and a Dave Campbell's Texan Live subscriber, not only do you get all of this insight, which includes the coaching changes page, which includes recruiting news and notes across the state, includes college football, all of the things. There are also playoff area round softball games happening on Dave Campbell's Texan Live, by district baseball games with some of the top teams across the state, all sorts of incredible content. All of this news that we're talking about, a lot of it being behind the paywall. Go ahead and come for a very low price for a full year. You can get all of that, 2,000 different broadcasts for $49.95 a year.
That's a steal.
It is an absolute steal. Mother's Day is coming up. Get your mom the gift of an annual subscription to Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and she will sing your praises. You will be the favorite child.
And it's the gift that keeps on giving, too.
My mom has a subscription. Your mom has a subscription. We're the favorite children.
Right. Oh, well, yes, 100%.
I hope Jake and Joey heard that. All right. Before we round out all of this, want to bring your attention one more time to texasfootball.com and a couple of the articles that we have on there. We talked about Carter's Director of Football article that we would love for you to go read. Another one here, some breaking news that came out. Our Greg Tepper was all over it. The UIL is making 2 different big rule changes this year, one of which is Tepper's story up UIL to allow some wearable play calling technology in Texas high school football. If you're interested exactly what that means, here's a quick quote from the article. Again, this is not coach to player helmet communication, but utilizing wristband-like technology to communicate play calls to your athlete. So a little look into it. Tepper's whole story explains exactly what that rule change is, on top of some headgear changes as well. So go ahead and check that one out. The next one I want you to check out came out this morning from our very own Mike Craven. Texas high school football products projected for the first round of the 2026 NFL draft.
Jeez.
So the first round of the 2026 NFL draft could also feature, let that really sink in, at least 6 former Texas high school football players. Obviously, this year contained 6 different Texas high school football players out of 32 picks, which is absolutely insane. Craven's already looking ahead to those college players that you need to be looking out for across the nation that did either play in Texas or Texas high school football. That up on texasfootball.com. And then finally, do you have something?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm reading through this list, and now I am starting to get the feeling of being old, because I'm like,
as you covered all of them,
like Garrett Nussmeier. I definitely interviewed him when I was in college at Flower Mound Marcus, and Cade Klubnik and Torian York. It hurts.
Oh yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
The rest of that list on texasfootball.com, so go check that out. And then previewing something coming out tomorrow, something we are super, super excited about. And that is, you heard last week that a Dallas Cowboys legend is making his way into Texas high school football. We already have one of them in Jason Witten over there at Argyle Liberty Christian. And a couple more scattered around. But Joe Looney, hired at Little Elm, and Carter Yates not only had the story when he got hired, but a sit-down interview with Coach Joe Looney. He will have a whole story that comes out about his life and his time, but also it will accompany a video interview. If you're interested in literally sitting down and watching the whole thing, our very own Vianney Moreno was on site to shoot that one. Are you excited with the final product?
Yes, very much so. It was super cool to go out and get to meet him. He's a great, very energetic, very, very charismatic, and great storyteller as well. So I'm really excited for you guys to see it and have his conversation with Carter too.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, a long line of offensive legends there, Joe Looney being one of them. So excited to see that coming out tomorrow on texasfootball.com and youtube.com/Dave Campbell's Texas Football. So just some highlights about what all of the stuff that we've been working on at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We know it's a lot, so we hope that WTF can kind of serve as that, hey, if you just want to dive in once a month, we'll hit you with the highlights.
Yeah, and I'm exhausted. I really am. I really have no else.
At least watch this so Mallory Hartley can sleep well at night. There's our promo.
Correct. There's your promo there. But man, I love this show. It's fun.
That made my heart happy.
I miss doing it with you guys. I really did. It's been a long time.
I'm glad to hear I'm better than Carter.
Yes. Oh, yeah, by a lot.
He's going to be punching air out there.
He's like staring at the photo of the WTF photo on his desk like, man.
Sarah McLachlan's in the arms of an angel just playing in the background. No.
I know.
All right, well, that'll do it for us. We'll be back again in the month of May to hit all of the big highlights. A big thank you to our Texas high school football insider, Matthew Stepp, to our social media coordinator and official chief Atascocita insider correspondent and Carde Mac
correspondent,
know-it-all Gavin Moritz for joining us on. For Vianney Moreno, Mallory Hartley, I am Ashley Pickle. Thank you so much for tuning in to WTF, and we will see you again in May.